This is Porthcawl, which lies on the coast of Glamorgan in South Wales, near Bridgend. Until the last war, this was a quiet and pretty well unspoiled little seaside town. Its permanent population included a high proportion of retired people. And the holidaymakers who were flocking here then in growing numbers every year were mostly middle-class people. Porthcawl's hotels and private landladies were looking forward to a future of increasing prosperity. And not surprisingly, because this place has a lot of natural advantages. It lies on a beautiful bay. It has some splendid beaches, and you haven't got to go very far to reach fine countryside. Well, Porthcawl today still has all these natural advantages, but today it's got something else. It's got this. The biggest concentration of caravans in Britain, the biggest, it's said, in Europe. 4,300 of them on two almost adjoining sites, which between them cover a huge area of what was once natural sand dunes around the fine beach of Trecco Bay on the eastern side of the town. There are more caravans than houses in Porthcawl now, and the changing holiday population that lives here is at peak times much bigger than the permanent population of Porthcawl, which is some 14,000. But what can you do about a huge concentration of caravans like this? The planning committee sought the advice of a noted planning consultant, Dr. Thomas Sharp. He came to have a look at Porthcawl's problem, and this is what he saw. 8 miles of tarmac roads, 25 toilet blocks, 750 water points, 260 hot showers in 6 blocks, half a dozen laundries, and a camp church. There are shops to cope with basic needs, and a restaurant, and a fish and chip cafe, and a ballroom theatre equipped for films, and a licensed club that does a roaring trade, and an amusement arcade. Dr. Sharp doesn't say much about these, but he has plenty to say about the caravans in his letter to the committee declining to draw up plans for Porthcawl on the grounds that until something is done about these caravans, planning would be a waste of time. Here are some of the things Dr. Sharp says about this caravan camp. An amazing and horrific sight. In an unbroken and unrelieved mass, nearly a mile long by something approaching half a mile wide, they stand rank on rank, line on line, reaching, it seems, almost out of sight. Each with its dustbin, many with their cars alongside. They are like a cloud of regimented locusts, still settled in a place they have reduced to a desert. The apparently endless lines thrust their multitudinous murder on every view. There was a town in England, Dr. Sharp goes on to say, which was once labelled the town that was murdered. Porthcawl, he says, could well be given that description today. If this place was a shock to Dr. Sharp, his letter was a shock to the planning committee, whose chairman is a Porthcawl man, Councillor John.
I am of the view, and I'm certain my committee would be of the view, that Porthcawl itself could be looked at apart from the caravans. They are here. We have other bays in the town. We've got the discontinuation of the British Railways, and we've got a town centre to look at.
Is the town and is the County Planning Authority quite happy then about these caravans?
Well, I wouldn't be able to say we're happy. Some members of the authority agree with caravanning, some disagree with caravanning. But the caravans at Porthcawl are providing a service to our people.
As a member of Porthcawl Council, Mr. Thomas, which is most closely concerned with this problem, how do you feel about Dr. Sharp's report?
I think it's quite true.
What are your chief objections, then, to these caravan sites?
I think there are 3, aesthetic, social and economic. The site is derelict for the major part of the year, with blown sand at times reaching roof levels. In the summer, the sand is replaced by lines of washing ash cans, litter of all kinds, old cars. There are 5,000 of them in Porthcawl, which is far too many for a town of its size. And I think that if holidays of this type are necessary, then the load should be spread amongst the other resorts in South Wales.
If there weren't caravan sites available, then you think a lot of these people would go into digs in the town?
I don't think so, no. They'll go elsewhere with their caravans, or for the similar type of holiday.
Well, what do you think can be done?
I think the whole nature of these sites wants to be changed. They should be changed to residential sites, to hotels, and similar kinds of public accommodation, pubs and so forth.
You want to abolish the caravan?
Oh, yes, completely.
But wait a minute now. They do provide one of the cheapest forms of holiday, you know.
Oh, yes, I agree. But then chalet camps could provide holiday accommodation almost as cheaply. You see, the rateable value of Sir Leslie Joseph's site is £22,600 this year. If that was converted to residential and hotel and commercial development, the minimum rateable value would be £100,000 a year, at least 5 times as much. So you can see how the town is really suffering.
Porthcawl Council itself owns one of the 2 caravan sites. But the man who has a controlling interest in the bigger site, which holds 3,400 caravans, is Porthcawl's most prominent citizen, Sir Leslie Joseph. You did expect some criticism, sure.
Well, of course, one gets criticism, whatever you do, but we are very happy with the situation here. We feel that we are doing a good job of work. We're here primarily to make money, but we also at the same time serve the purpose of providing about 30,000 families with a holiday that many of them wouldn't otherwise get.
Yeah, that may be true, but you have to think of the other members of the community.
We
now,
do,
well,
very much
quite
so indeed.
Reasonable people, you know, who say that so many caravans, so close together, you know, do constitute a nuisance for the rest of the community.
When you say so close together, we do in fact conform entirely with the model standards laid down by the government. And this has been recently laid down. This camp conforms in every way with the model standards. And in regard to the number of caravans, there are a large number here, 3,000, but there is a demand for 3,000, a demand for more than 3,000. And where would you put them if you didn't put them here? Would you have 30 camps of 100 each scattered all over the place? There are a lot around the coast already. I think it's far better to have a concentration in this way, where they can be properly controlled, where everything can be properly organized, where the facilities can be provided for the people.
Dr. Sharp describes this place, Sir Leslie, as a cancerous growth which is changing the character of the town. Now, I don't suppose you agree with the word cancerous, but would you agree that it is changing the character of the town?
I think it is changing the character of this particular part of the area. I don't think it's changing the character of the other side of the town, which was normally the resident visitor side of the town. And I believe that most resorts in this country will have to change their character or go out of existence.
What do you mean?
I believe that foreign travel has become so popular that many of the resorts which depended upon the old traditional type of holidaymaker for their revenue will have to change. And the people who come here, the people with families, are by and large not the people who go abroad. Therefore, I think the resorts can prosper through the patronage of the campers, the holiday campers. And this, of course, is only a recreational or summer holiday camp. It's not a permanent residential camp.
Changing times bring changing holiday habits, and a growingly popular one is caravanning. When you see a place like this, you have to admit that caravan camps are a problem. And though it's a more acute problem here at Porthcawl than anywhere else, it's a problem, a planner's headache, on beautiful coasts all over the country.